Straight all day.
You're now tuned into the show. You learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the worst mistakes that a man can make. And yes, we are talking specifically about males here, not man as in humans, but males. But before we get into that, let me tell everybody, I have a daily motivation text that I send out every single day free of charge to everyone who's in my text community. This message is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point, or at least get your day started that way. Now, you got to do some other things to maintain it, but you'll at least get started on the right foot with my daily motivation text. Text me right now so you are on my list and you will get that text. My number is 305-384-6894, and every morning when I send out the daily motivation, because you're a member of my text community, you shall receive that message. And the other thing is, you want to work with me directly, you want to make sure that your business is going the direction it needs to be going. If you need more accountability, you need more strategy, you got to get your mind, you want to get your mindset in the right shape, and you want to have a system so that you can operate on all cylinders at your highest level on a consistent basis, not just randomly when you get excited about it. I want you to go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and you can see your steps for working with me directly. That is the only place you need to go if you want to work with me, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Now, getting into the subject, the worst mistakes that a man can make, and again, I'm talking about males here. I'm not talking about humans when I say a man. Now, although this episode is targeted specifically to the men, if you are a female who listens to this show, you should still listen to this episode. You should hear what I'm going to be saying here, because two reasons. Number one, some of the things I mentioned will involve females. So make sure you are, if I mention something a man can do that involves a female that's a mistake, make sure you are not one of the females that is the mistake. Okay, and I'll explain when I get into my points, you'll know exactly what I mean. And two, you may have a man or some men or young men in your life who need to hear this message, but they are not listening to the show, but you are. So you can pass this message on to them. And third reason is you can get some insight into the kind of conversation that men have with other men, so you can understand how we are thinking and the kind of things that we discuss, because we're going to have this as an open conversation here today on the show. So let's get into it. The topic, once again, is the worst mistakes that a man can make. Point number one, being with the wrong woman. All right, so I am making this with an angle towards heterosexual males. Okay, it's men who are attracted to women. Okay, the worst, number one, and these are not necessarily in any particular order. Worst mistake a man can make is being with the wrong woman. When I say with, I mean in a relationship with, or even having relations with the wrong woman. Wrong, we'll decide what that means in a second. Choosing the wrong partner is the second worst mistake you can make. I'll tell you the first in the next point. Being in a relationship with someone who is, we're talking about the woman here, not uplifting you, not supporting you, doesn't have your back, is not playing her position in your life, whatever that may be, is a recipe for failure and disaster for you. Now, she might fail and be a disaster. She might already be a failure and a disaster. Now, you get around her, well, what does the law of association state? You already know. You become the people that you spend time with. So if you're in a relationship with somebody, they are probably the closest thing you have when it comes to that law of association. So all of you, I don't care if you're male or female, listening to this, you need to be careful who you're associating with. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, they are your number one closest association. So if they're not the right type of person, then you need to do something to adjust that situation as quickly as possible. Maybe you can help enact some change in the relationship, maybe some change in yourself, and maybe a distant third, some change in the other person. That's the hardest one to do. Now, you chose this person for a reason. Let's figure out what that was. Now, if you are a superhuman individual in a relationship with the wrong woman, you will be striving for mediocrity at best, even though you by yourself are superhuman. But when you get with the wrong person, the best you will do is mediocrity. You will never be at your best, nor will you perform at your best if you are in a relationship with the wrong female. As I'm talking to the men out there right now. Now, while everything I'm saying here sounds pretty simple and pretty quote unquote obvious, it still needs to be said, because when you're in a relationship with the wrong person, usually it happens out of some form of convenience. Maybe this person is so physically attractive that you overlooked everything else about them, and you ended up and only later on realizing, hey, I'm in a relationship with the wrong person. Even though they are physically attractive, maybe still they're still not the right type of person. And there's a lot more to a person than just how they physically look. I'm not saying that that doesn't matter. Looks do matter, but there's a lot more to the person than just looks. And if you weren't able to, or you didn't have the wherewithal, let's say, to look into the other aspects of this person besides just the looks, you might have found yourself in a place that it'll be difficult for you to get out of. Not you can't, but it'll be difficult for you to get out of. And also, relationships out of convenience, maybe it'll be difficult for you to get away from this person. Maybe they are attached to you and clingy in some way. Maybe they have some kind of toxicity with them. Maybe you are clingy and toxic in some way as well. Maybe it could be many other factors, myriad of other factors that make it very convenient for you to stay in this relationship, and maybe for them as well. Maybe the two of you both have some convenience factors that cause you to stay in a relationship, even though maybe you or them or both of you don't want to be in a relationship anymore, but neither of you will leave because you have the law of inertia working with and against you, meaning it is easier to stay where you are than it is to gather up the energy to change the situation. So be careful with this, because being in a relationship with the wrong person will take you down faster than damn near any other mistake you could possibly make as a man in life, especially if you're on the path, or at least you were on a path to success. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the worst mistakes that a man can make. Number 2, having a child by the wrong woman. Now, I told you in point number 1 that the second worst mistake you can make is being in a relationship with the wrong woman. Well, here's the worst mistake you can make. It's having a child with that woman. Why? Why is this the worst mistake than just being in a relationship with the wrong woman? Because at least if you're in a relationship with the wrong woman, you can break up with her if you decide that she's not the right one for you. You can get away from her. You can separate, and there is nothing necessarily, legally, physically, in any way connecting you to that person. If you just want to completely get away from them, they will eventually get the point and probably leave you alone. Now, I have heard of, there's such thing as like stalking, and you having to get, what do they call it? Order of protections and order and things to keep people away from you. I forget, restraining order, that is, from another person. Usually, in my experience, my subjective experience is that a woman has to get it from a man, and the man will chase the woman down. It's not usually the man having to get a restraining order from a woman. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but in my subjective experience, is usually the woman need to get the man away, not the man need to get the woman away. The woman will eventually get the point and move on. And maybe another man will come around and take her. As they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. But if you have a child by the woman, all right, here's the thing. Because you can break up with a woman, or if you decide she's not the right one for you, but you have a child from a woman you cannot break up with or get a divorce from your baby. All right, that child is yours forever. All right, you can't break up. You can break up with the woman. You can't break up with the baby. All right, you can get a divorce from the woman. You can't get a divorce from the baby. Now, this is 10 times worse than dating the wrong woman. I'm not saying the existence of the baby, but the fact that you had the baby is 10 times worse than dating the wrong woman that you had the baby with. Because when you have a baby with someone, especially if you have decided that they're the wrong person, but you already have a child with them, or they're already pregnant and they're having the child, all right, that means you are connected to that bitch forever. All right, and that's forever in all capital letters. Okay, and ladies who are listening to this, this is the way that when you're not in the room, this is the kind of conversations that we have. And I'm toning it down a lot, by the way. Men who are listening, we all know when we are dealing with a woman who we may be physically attracted to, but we would never want to be in a long-term relationship with her. Is there any man here who has never experienced this? There's a woman that you are physically attracted to. However, you say, well, I'm physically attracted to this woman, but this woman will never be my girlfriend, wife. This woman's never going to be my partner. But there is a physical attraction there. All right, and so you have to learn how to draw the line between the two, and take the appropriate actions or non-actions based on this understanding. So it's completely fine and within our nature as men to, again, recognize when there's a woman you're attracted to but you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with. So here's what you need to do, men. If you are in this situation, take yourself to the local convenience store, grocery store, wherever goods and services are sold, and invest in contraception. Buy as much of it as you need and have some with you wherever you go. And never, ever, 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 ever Everybody catch that? Ever, E-V-E-R, ever, have unprotected sex with a woman who you do not plan to marry and do not want to be connected with for the rest of your damn life. Let me say that sentence again. Because this here, you know how they say that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure? Okay, so here, this is what I'm giving you. I'm giving you a pound of prevention that's worth a ton of cure. A ton is 2,000 pounds, by the way. All right, so this is a 2,000 times ROI, this advice that I'm giving you, as long as you actually follow it. And it's a 2,000 times, I don't know, what's the opposite of a return on investment? A loss? Let's just call it a loss on investment. LOI, loss on investment, if you don't follow this. Meaning, your 1 pound of lack of discipline is going to cost you 2,000 pounds of whatever it is you got to pay in exchange over the next at least 18 years for that child of yours that you have, not counting the 9 months. So it's really 19 years. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? Let me say my sentence again. Never, ever, ever have unprotected sex with a woman who you do not plan to marry and or do not want to be connected with for the rest of your life, because the child doesn't disappear. All right, you could be in a relationship with somebody today and not in a relationship next week, but the baby does not just go away. A relationship can go away. So the baby is exactly what can happen if you have unprotected sex with a person that you don't want to be with. And now, as a person you want to be with, then maybe you want to have a baby. But anybody else, don't do it. And I know a lot of men, I ain't gonna say any names, but I know a lot of men who have been very reckless in this area, and some of whom have had to pay for it with their lives. I mean, not they died, but they now have children with women that they didn't want to be with. The women might not even want to be with them. And now you got to deal with that for the rest of your life, the life of that child. Between two parents who, for whatever reason, there's some animosity between you two, and the child doesn't get what they need, which is two parents together, because I'm not gonna put it on the woman, I'm gonna put it on you, gentlemen. You were the one who was reckless. I'm talking to the men here. I'm addressing the men. I'm not addressing the women. I'm addressing the men because of your recklessness. Again, I don't know if there are any men listening to this who are responsible for child support payments. But you think about how much you're paying in child support. I guarantee, I've never been responsible for child support payments. But any of you who is paying child support, I guarantee whatever you're paying every month or whatever is garnished from your paycheck every month is more than it costs to get yourself a 12-pack or an 18-pack or a 36-pack of contraception from your local Target or convenience store. If I got that wrong, somebody can send me a text message. You can send me screenshots of how much the contraception costs and how much you're paying in child support. I guarantee you the contraception costs less. And you don't have a time investment that goes with it like you do with that child that you weren't even planning on having with a woman that now you don't even want to deal with. All right, this is what happens. And by the way, the more successful you are or you are planning to be, and or the fewer options the woman that you're dealing with believes that she has for her future, the higher the chances that she may keep the baby even if she doesn't want to be with you either. So if she has a whole lot of options outside of you, then maybe she might decide, you know what, I'm going to not keep the child and just move on and wash my hands of being with you. That's what the woman may think. And maybe that's what you want her to do. If she thinks she has enough options outside of you, and maybe she doesn't see you as being a future, she doesn't see dollar signs when she looks at you for the future in terms of what she can get out of you for child support, maybe she'll decide to do that. But if she sees you as someone who's on their way up, and you could basically be a paycheck for her, hey, she might keep the baby just for that reason. Listen, let's put it this way. All right, has any of you ever seen this happen? Let's put it that way. I don't even have to say anything else. If you haven't, then you just need to live a little bit more life. I've seen it. I've seen it more than once. So if you're on your way to success, or you are already at success, again, relatively speaking, in the eyes of the person who is looking at you, they may want to keep a child, not necessarily because they want the child, just because they want to keep some connection to you, and that's coming out of your check. That's coming out of your check. That's coming out of whatever you're earning every single month for the next 18 years. 18 years is a long time. So one night, let's say 1 hour of pleasure, gentlemen, in exchange for 18 years of bills and a lifetime of connection, all right, that's bad math the last time that I checked. Again, unless you planned for it. Now, if this is what you wanted, then this is a whole different conversation. I'm talking about if you did this and you didn't mean to do it. I'm not saying there's nothing positive that comes from having a baby, but if this wasn't your plan, then it can throw a whole lot of things off. Okay? Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the worst mistakes that a man can make. Number 3. And this is not a conclusive list, by the way. This is just a starter kit. I may do a future episode with more of these points. But this is number 3. Having the wrong men around you. So just in case any ladies were listening and thinking, well, Dre, all your points are about the mistakes that a man can make with a woman. Well, two out of the 3 of them are about the mistakes that a man can make with a woman, because I've seen men make more mistakes when it comes to women than they have made when it comes to men. And this is just, again, my subjective perspective, but whose show are you listening to? Number 3, having the wrong men around you. This is for the men I'm talking to. Your peer group as a man is just as important, if not more important, than the women who you choose to deal with. Especially since you may be a single man and not even dealing with a woman right now. The men that you're around are, again, that law of association. Who are the people you are talking to on a daily basis? What is the level of the people that you're spending the most time? What level are they at? Where are they going? Who are your friends? How are those associations affecting your performance, your standards, your expectations of yourself? You should be looking at your associations, your friends, your peer group on a consistent basis, and asking yourself this question. I talked about this in my book, Work on Your Game, where I talked about habits and employees, how your habits are your employees working for you, and your habits are determining what happens in your life. And if you don't like what's going on in your life, that means you need to take a look at your habits and make some changes. It's the same thing when it comes to your peer group. If you don't like the way that you're living, the way that you're acting, the way that you're thinking, the places you end up, you need to look around at your peer group and ask yourself, who is influencing me to end up in the positions that I'm ending up in? Now, you're the number 1 influence, person in the mirror. But then outside of that, you got to look around at the people that you're hanging with. If you feel like you're not doing what you need to be doing, are you hanging with a bunch of people who don't do what they need to be doing? Probably. Probably, because if you're hanging with a bunch of people who need to be doing who are doing what they need to be doing, they will not tolerate someone like you underperforming around them. They won't either they won't tolerate your actions or they won't tolerate you, period. One or the other's got to change. So if you don't like something that you're doing, you need to check your peer group. Check your phone log and look at the last 10, 20 calls that you have actually answered or made. Who are you talking to? Who are your friends? And how are your friends affecting your performance, your standards, and your expectations? Maybe, hey, do you even have any friends? This is an important question to ask, especially in the world today. We're a couple years removed from the COVID lockdowns and shutdowns, when some people decided to go into hibernation and didn't really deal with or gather around human beings at all for a considerable period of time. And we have a generation of kids who had to deal with this when they came to school. So you weren't even around, other people in school every day. It was number one place where we socialized when we were kids growing up. But we also had the neighborhood and playing with other kids and stuff. But with COVID, there are a lot of people not doing any of that. Then there were people who are not in school. You just didn't associate. Maybe you didn't associate with many people that much before COVID. Then COVID hit, and then you didn't associate with anybody. And now COVID's kind of gone away, even though we still got some weirdos walking around with cloth masks on. And that's a different conversation that we don't even need to have anymore on this show. But some of you weren't associating with people even before COVID. Now that COVID's pretty much gone, you still ain't associating with anybody. You don't have any friends. So your law of association, only person you're associating with is yourself. And the challenge with associating with yourself is, again, the law of inertia. Any object left to its own devices, actually, that's not the law of inertia. That is, what is that? I forgot the word for it. It'll come to me in a second. But any object left to its own devices is eventually going to move into a state of disorder and chaos. And the word is, I'm forgetting. It's one of the laws of thermodynamics. It'll come back to me in a second, but it doesn't matter. That is one of the laws of thermodynamics. That when you leave anything by itself, it eventually moves into a state of higher and higher, and the word is entropy. Higher and higher disorder. Higher and higher disorder, and I call it chaos. So if you are by yourself and you don't have anyone around you to hold you accountable or hold you to a standard, even by example, let alone by word, then you are moving into a higher state of disorder, which is not a good thing. So if you don't have any friends, that's not good. All right, being by yourself is not good. So are there people in your circle, if you have a circle, and are there people in it who you can call for information, advice, insights, help with challenges? If something's not working for you, where do you go? You go to Google, and that's the first place you go when something's not working for you. I would suggest that you look at your peer group, because the first place you should go is to somebody who might know the answer, because they'll be able to interpret and give you insights into information better than Google. So all Google will give you is information. You don't know if it's the right information, you don't know how to interpret it, and you don't know how to apply it to yourself personally. But if you know someone who knows that same information, they will be able to interpret it for you and tell you how to apply it personally. Why? Because they know you. And you can explain yourself to them the way you can't explain yourself to Google. You see what I'm saying? This is why you got to have the right people around you. Are you the one, or actually let me back up. Do you have people around you, again, who you can call for advice, insights, and help? Or, and I know some people who have this affliction, that they have people around them, but every time they're talking to the people around them, they're always the one giving advice and giving help and giving information, but they don't have anyone they can call from whom to receive information. This is also a structural issue when it comes to your peer group. Doesn't mean you can't have people around you who you can teach, but you gotta have some people around you who you can learn from too. In life, you gotta have three groups of people. You need people you can teach, people who are about your level, y'all can bounce ideas off of each other, and people who are above who they can teach you. And everybody needs to have these people around them. You should have all three. Can you learn from the people around you just as much as they are learning from you? And vice versa. All right, do you have people around you who you can teach anything? And do you have anything that is teachable to other people? These are good questions you should be answering. You should be looking at these and looking at yourself. We all know the law of association. I've already said it 3 times here on the show. Are you following that understanding? If not, then you need to make adjustments immediately. Because as I already told you, we're in a collaboration era. So who you collaborate with in your life right now plays a big role in where you're going to end up, because we are in the era of all the power, all the juice is in the people who are collaborating, not just the people who have information, not even the people who just have the ability to work hard. It's not to say that working hard and information don't matter, but collaboration is the trend going on right now. It's a trend, it's not fad. So this is something that's not going away. This will matter. This is something you have been ignoring. Let this message here today be your wake-up call to stop ignoring it. Let's recap today's class, which is the worst mistakes that a man can make. And again, ladies, you should be listening. I already said that. So ladies, if you're still listening, you already heeded that advice. So number one is being with the wrong woman. Choosing the wrong partner is the second worst mistake you can make with a man, because you're with someone who's not uplifting you, not supporting you, not having your back, not playing their position in your life. That is a recipe for failure and disaster. Even if you are a superhuman individual on your own, you have the wrong woman around you, you will be striving for mediocrity at best. All right, and sometimes this can be a relationship of convenience, so you got to work against that law of inertia and get out of there. Number 2, worst mistake is having a baby by the wrong woman, because even though you can break up with a woman, you cannot break up with a baby. Now, you can't get a divorce from a baby. And if you have a baby with the woman that you didn't want to be with, you are stuck and connected to that bitch forever. Even if you never speak to her again, you are still connected to her, because she is the mother of your child. So man, you know when you're dealing with a woman you may be physically attracted to, but you would not want to be in a long-term relationship with, you should not be having unprotected sex with that woman. And I've known too many men who are doing exactly this, and these are men who are otherwise very intelligent individuals. Do not make this mistake. I've seen it too many times, and this is a very costly in time, money, attention, energy, and focus. All 5 of your forms of investment you lose when you make this mistake. Number 3, having the wrong men around you. Your peer group as a man is just as important, if not more important, than the women you choose to deal with. Who are you hanging with? Who can you call? When you have a challenge, who do you get on the phone? When someone else has a challenge, how many of them think about you and call you? Do you even have friends? Do you even have a circle? Do you even have a peer group? Remember that we're in the era of collaboration. The people who are going to move the furthest, the fastest these days are the people who are open and out there collaborating with other people. And this is especially important for men. Men, you need to be collaborating with other men. I'm not saying you can't do business with and have friends who are female, but you also need to have friends who are males. You need to be collaborating and dealing with other males so that all of you can move forward at the same time. And if you don't have these people to call, you need to go out and you need to make yourself some friends. You need to get outside, go to some events, go to some networking, go to the gym, go to any kind of gathering, go on meetup.com, do whatever you need to do, and go actually make some male friends. You need to have male friends who you can call on the phone and just have a 20-minute conversation. What are they working on? What are you working on? Maybe they can help you with something. Maybe you can help them. Maybe you know somebody who can know somebody who helps them, and then the same for you. But you got to have this connection, folks. All right, remember that movie 6 Degrees of Separation? The world that we're in now is down to like 3 degrees of separation, which means it should be even easier for you to make connections and get what you need through people than it was 20 or 30 years ago. But you still have to do something. It's not just going to happen. It's not just going to fall in your lap. So with all that said, text me. Tell me the best insight, idea you got from today's masterclass. If you listen and you completely disagree with everything that I said, you can tell me that too, but you got to give me some solid reasons as to why with some substance behind it. Text me. My number is 305-384-6894. And you're ready to take yourself to the next level when it comes to your business, when it comes to having the right mindset to take your business where it needs to go, strategy, which is your game plan of action, the system so you can do the same things the same way every time consistently, and the execution so you are held accountable to make it happen. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Workonyourgameuniversity.com, that is. Work on your game. Dre all day.